AEW Dynamite starts off with Bryan Danielson versus Nigel for the AEW World Championship. Not gonna speak too much on this match. I really didn't care that much for it. I understand the importance of it, but I just didn't care. Bryan Danielson is winning by tapping out Nigel. After the match though, Christian Cage ends up coming out with his contract from the Casino Gauntlet. Looks like he was about to sign it, but then out of nowhere, Kid Sapien, I think that's what his name is, ends up stealing the pin from Christian and ends up running away, and Christian chases after him. I know they've been playing this story with Kid Sapien for a bit, with Nick Wayne constantly seeing him. So I don't know what the end goal is with that story. I kind of don't understand it, but we'll see how that plays out. Um, Christian Cage is going to keep teasing his contract. It makes sense. He's going to hold that contract for a while, especially with the main event scene being kind of stacked. He's going to hold it for a while, but nonetheless, it was nothing too major, but I was still somewhat entertained because I love Christian. So I'm interested to see when he will eventually cash in. Now we end up getting Hook versus Roger Strong for the FTW Championship. This match was kind of whatever. Hook ends up retaining. Don't need to really go that in depth into the match. But after the match, though, him and Roger Strong shook hands. Roger Strong didn't attack or anything. He shook his hand out of respect and left the ring. And then Hook ends up getting interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and he ends up retiring the FTW Championship for good and gives it to his father. This is great. This is great. Finally, that dumb. Well, I'm not gonna call it dumb. I understand why it exists, but it shouldn't have never been a championship to begin with, and it should have been retired a while ago, to be honest with you, because we all know the FTW championship don't really mean anything. It's not really that important. So glad that they finally got rid of it. Plus, they already have too many titles as is. So if they get rid of the trio championships and the continental title, we'll be set. But yeah, it was a good thing they got rid of that title because there's no need to have that title, to be honest with you. Now I know some people are saying that they did this because Hook contract is about to expire and he's about to go to NXT potentially. I don't know how true that is. If it was to happen, I'll be interested to see how he would do it in NXT, but we don't know. But we're gonna have to wait and see what's next for Hook, because I don't know how you book Hook without the FTW championship, because he never been booked outside of that championship. So it's gonna be very weird to see him not being booked for that championship. Now we end up getting, I think, is probably the match of the night. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. This was a really good match. The only problem I have is way too many goddamn kickouts. It was so many goddamn kickouts that the Young Bucks was just kicking out of. Way too many, man. The amount of power drivers and finishers that Will and Kyle was doing on them, and they kept kicking out, was a bit ridiculous, especially towards the end. But towards the end of the match, Don Callis, of course, gets involved. He ends up giving Kyle Fletcher a screwdriver. Kyle Fletcher was about to use the screwdriver, but Will Ospreay ends up stopping him. Then he ends up confronting Don Callis, but this ends up costing the match because then the Young Bucks ends up using the championship belts to attack Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. And then they end up hitting the EVP trigger and ends up retaining their AEW tag team titles. This was overall good because this tells the story of Kyle Fletcher, Will, and Don Callis. Tells the story of Will Ospreay either, well, he already left the Don Callis family, but this also brings more of a rift, more friction between the group and Will Ospreay. Also, this could add more story to Don Callis turning on Will Ospreay, fully going heel. He was already heel, but this can make him go heel instead of him being like this tweener when he's with Will Ospreay, where he could just betray Will Ospreay entirely. Now they also could tell the story of Kyle Fletcher betraying him, but I don't think they're going to tell that story. So this caused more of a rift between Don Callis and Will Ospreay. Now we end up getting Prince Nana. He was getting interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He gets asked about Swerve Strickland. Then he gets interrupted by MVP. MVP makes his AEW debut. He approaches Prince Nana, and he basically ends up calling Prince Nana out and basically says that he's not a good manager and that Swerve needs to be managed by someone like him, basically. And he ends up giving Prince Nana his business card and said that anytime Swerve wants to talk business, just call. This is very interesting. There's a lot of different ways you could go with this story. Now, a lot of people are assuming they're probably going to form the Hurt Business 2.0, which looks very likely. They could easily add Bobby Lashley with Shelton, with Swerve, which I kind of don't want to see because I kind of like Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland in my opinion. Now I know eventually they was probably going to do the whole turn between them two anyway, but I'm not mad at it, but I just wouldn't want to see that right now or anytime soon. But this causes a lot of questions. You could easily do Bobby Lashley, MVP Shelton versus Prince Nana Swerve. You could do Swerve, Bobby, and Shelton. There's a lot you could do, and we don't even know if Bobby is actually in AEW. This could just be MVP by himself. But there's a lot of things you could do. You could do Swerve betraying Prince Nana, and then align himself with MVP. There's a lot of angles you could go with this story. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out whenever Swerve Strickland does come back from kayfabe from the match against Hangman Adam Page. Now we end up getting Mariah May versus Yuka for the AEW's Women's World Championship. Not gonna speak too much on that. I didn't watch this match because who honestly cares? Mariah May ends up picking the victory. After the match, she tries to attack Yuka, but then Willow Nightingale ends up coming out confronting Mariah May, but then Mina Shirakawa ends up making her return, which allowed Mariah May to attack Willow Nightingale. Then Mariah ends up lifting Mina Shirakawa up, hugging her. Now Mina Shirakawa was like very shocked and surprised the whole entire time, because when she saw that Mariah attacked Willow, which was, I'm not gonna say it was confusing, but it was a little too much where I feel like it just didn't make that much sense. So it looks like she's still like confused and trying to decide whether or not she really wants to align herself with Mariah May, which I'm cool with, but I'm just glad they're giving her some type of story because she doesn't need to be feuding with Yuka of all people. And it looks like Willow is going to be inserted into this as well. So it looks like she's probably going to face Willow Nightingale. So that's good. Integrate, add some story to it, give her something, because what they've been doing so far with her championship reign has been bad, and it's just ridiculous how you have no creative direction. But now it looks like they have something, so hopefully it delivers. Now we get towards the main event. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. I'm not going to speak too much on this match because this match was boring. So boring. Like, oh my God, this match was so boring. Jon Moxley ends up picking up the victory. He ends up tapping out Darby Allin. No, he didn't tap him out. Darby Allin ended up getting distracted, which allowed Jon Moxley to take advantage, which allowed him to get pinned. After the match, though, Bryan Danielson ends up coming from out the crowd and ends up attacking Jon Moxley. He ends up choking him out. I don't know what he choked him out with, but he ends up choking him out. But then Marina and Blackpool Combat Club, Pac, and Claudio ends up pulling him away from Jon Moxley. Then Private Party comes back to get, to help out Bryan Danielson. And then Bryan Danielson basically ends up getting on the microphone and ends up making it official that it's him versus Jon Moxley at Wrestle Dream, which I'm not gonna say I'm excited for, only because of the story you could tell, but the match itself I'm not excited for, only because Jon Moxley, I don't know what it is, but he's not doing it for me. I don't know what it is. He's just not doing it for me. Now I need to go back and watch some old Jon Moxley stuff to really get how good he really is, because ever since I started watching AEW, I just find him like, I don't find him trash, but I don't find him entertaining. He's just boring to me. So the feud I'm somewhat interested in because of the history they have, but the actual match, not so much, especially in the ring, he just hasn't been all that to me. So we'll see how this plays out. But overall, this was a decent Dynamite, told some story, slowly building up towards some things. So I'm excited to see what's next. But you guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.